Okay, Chuhi, do you want to give us update?
Yeah, I was wondering if it was okay for us to go through the ASCO poster,
Sure.
because it's already May now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let me just share my screen. So let me show you the whole thing first. Sort of looks like that. And then we'll just close up and see if you have any comments. Well, the intro isn't really different from our previous posters.
Hmm.
So there's not much difference. So I think you've already been like read through it, but if you want to skim really quickly.
Yeah, it's okay. Go.
Yeah, everything's fine. The numbers changed because we added the numbers changed in the flowchart because we added additional articles since.
Mhm.
But that's about it.
Okay.
And then and then this is the results. So these are the ones that changed that.
Okay.
And if you want us to include anything else in like words.
No.
Okay, great. I'll show you the diagrams. This is the forest plot. So
Mhm.
the figure 1 is going to be sensitivity, specificity for all city types.
Mhm.
By assay type. So DNA plus protein, RNA metabolites protein.
Mhm.
And then this is the diagram for sensitivity false positive.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then figure 2 is for cfDNA based ones only. So sensitivity, specificity, false positive, whereas negative. And yeah,
Okay.
I think it's big enough to be readable.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is the only table we have for the poster.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, this is the only table we're including.
You still say table 1. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Even if
I
it's just
just
1.
okay. This is the one that you showed. You said last time how you said to combine the two tables together. That's what we did.
Yeah.
So we combined it together, and it's this table.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and like
Okay.
the 2 decimal points like you wanted.
Yep.
Okay. And then the last one is our ROC curves. Um, sorry. Yeah, just these 4 curves.
Yeah, looks fine to me.
Okay, then the email address.
Shouldn't you
Huh?
shouldn't you add your name too? Or
I wasn't sure like what that was based on, so
oh
I
yeah.
could add mine. Okay, should I add mine?
Aren't you the first author?
Yeah, I wasn't sure how many people I should add, so I just like left
So
it
I would
at.
say instead of Liam, you should add your name.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
usually it's the first author and corresponding author.
Oh, okay. I just thought Liam had more credentials, like, Master of Public Health, things like that. So it looked nice.
It's okay.
Okay, I'll change that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I added the poster number, abstract number which they wanted us to. I only included the Northwestern addresses
Yeah, it's okay.
because there are too many hospitals and it just got messy.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Anything else? Are we missing? We went through it like, but are we missing anything, or would you like us to change anything?
I think it's okay.
Okay.
But
Okay, I'll ask everyone to read over it again.
Yeah.
Because the deadline is on the 15th, so we still have like a week or so. But I don't want to be like too close to the deadline when I'm submitting, just in case the internet decides to like not work. So we'll try to like get it out of our hands by next week.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's done. For the manuscript, everything's kind of ready. We're just waiting on Sally to double check on the citations and we should be good. All the documents are ready. So we'll let you know what they say when they say something, which
So
is in like 2 weeks.
It's submitted to where?
Nature Communications.
And they haven't, you checked last time it was under, I guess, a signing reviewer or something?
No. Sally is redoing the citations because it's like a different format.
Oh, redoing.
And she's finishing it up today. So
Okay.
once she's done, we will re-upload the manuscript.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's that. What else did I want to say? I think that's about it. Yes.
Okay.
That's all I have for you.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I'll try to check weekly and see what they say. And let you know what they say when they say something.
Oh yeah, can you send us that the download top 10 that notice?
I don't think we're in the top 10 anymore though. I think maybe that was like the past few weeks.
Yeah, but where is that? That
One
the
sec. Oh wait. Oh,
just curious to know, how do you know which you can, I mean, you can share your screen. I just want to know, how do you
okay.
popular preprints?
Wait, where's my screen? One sec. I shouldn't have reloaded it. I reloaded it. Oh, we're 9 now. There you go.
Top 10.
Yeah. So this is like I don't know why they say like recent top papers. And then it depends on how many people download your paper, I think. And apparently our paper was 8, now it's 9. Like 53 people downloaded it.
53, wow.
Yeah.
That's a
I
lot.
feel like we should we should ask all our authors to download it once. Put us back.
Go off. That's so funny.
Because these people have like 67, so we get to like 68, then we're like top 8.
So
But yeah, so 234 people looked at our abstract and 53 people downloaded it.
Wow.
So yeah, so I'm in a hurry to like get this paper published elsewhere because like now everyone can copy everything.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of freaking out. I didn't think people would look at it that much.
Right. But where
people have been looking at it, so kind of freaking out. We need to get it out ASAP.
exactly? But where's that link to get you to that top 10?
Sorry, like Lance had sent it to me. Let me see if I still have the link. I'm just gonna post the link. I just got it in an email because
okay.
I was written as the first author.
Wow, there's like lung cancer detection.
Yeah.
AI. 2,600 downloads. I'm sure it's published in a very nice journal. It's just preprint. Um, and a lot of it's machine learning, like number 3. Yeah. Wow.
That was interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, you put in the chat box, or would you?
Sorry, one sec. Let me just do it.
Oh, you can put that. Oh, yeah. I got it.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, I'll just put in
But I think it spiked after AACR, but not many people have been logging in since. So I'm hoping it'll spike after ASCO again.
We need to publish.
Yeah. But we should publish ASAP because all our tables are here if anyone wants to copy, so that's not good.
Right. Okay. Very good. And Jui, remember your next conference is in Singapore, so you need to be our guide.
Singapore. I love that place.
Okay. So yeah, keep us updated. We'll I'm still hopeful that this can get to a wider readership. So okay. Thank you, Jui.
Thank
I
you.
think Eugene, you're next in Korea. Or Arnie as well. Are you guys gonna present
Sure.
together?
We're gonna present the paper
Yeah.
progression.
Yeah, we will present together. We've been work together for this past week, so I think it's good to ask for have a feedback for you.
Yeah, so I just put the link to the draft in the chat room.
Okay. Oh, where's the share screen? Oh yeah. Okay. Do you see it?
Yes, and yeah, just want to thank you and Dr. Jin for reviewing this and send us feedback. So we highlighted the blue parts, the revised parts as a blue so that you can notice it right away. And yeah, you just need to see the blue part, not the whole thing.
Blue part. So redefining clinical hyperprogression, the instant clinical implication risk factors of hyperprogression in non-small cell lung cancer treated with. Where are we submitting this to?
To the JITC.
JTC.
JITC. Okay. I would say the use of immune checkpoint inhibitors. I would say unclear rather than uncertain. I would take out the appearing. I would not use slash, but use pre-baseline or baseline.
Actually, yeah, both were risk factors, so should I use and or
Or
Mm,
you need comma in front of or. So liver metastasis would associate with PV. I would use the same format. High tumor burden was associated with HPDC, period. I would not use word risk factor here.
sorry, but do you want to keep the definition of high tumor burden measured by the sum of the target lesions at pre-baseline or baseline
Yes.
CT?
Remained consistently. I don't know if I like this expression.
How about remained persistent? Does that sound better? Or just remained?
Risk factor.
You can just say persisted.
Sorry, Liam,
Persisted is okay, yeah.
persisted.
Persistent.
Persisted. Past tense. Mhm.
So use before and after incorporating new lesions into HPD definitions.
Or just saying it more plain, way, like original definitions and modified definition.
varied uh, by different definitions.
Mm,
So I would say varied by definition, by different definition, period. Erase everything
Sure.
and and I think there's a word in conclusion where you say HPD, the added HPD patients by the new definition had similar clinical outcome compared to the original definition. So that should be the second sentence. Okay,
We'll bring that back, yeah.
is expected to provide. It's a strong word. I would not use it.
Mm. May
Okay.
provide,
Identifying patients who require caution during immunotherapy and improve. So our findings may aid in improve. I don't know where how the grammar fits here.
I think it's may aid in identifying and may improve, but
Our findings may improve the survival outcome.
yeah, but this sounds too strong for me as well.
But how? How does our finding improve survival outcome?
May by more accurately predicting the patients with HPD, maybe.
I think because it's showing that if you have HPD, that it will be like increase the overall survival. Then from that the sentence is coming. If we like kind of predict HPD earlier, then maybe we can improve the overall survival.
So I think it's leap in our logic. I don't think it's right to say that here.
Okay.
This will help identify patients who require. Anyway, I don't like how the conclusion reads. So just rewrite it based on the actual conclusion in the actual manuscript.
Okay.
There's no such thing as in-house essay. It's all based on commercial payer. It's called PDGX.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I read the report, but I didn't find the name, so okay. Well, PDGX.
other tissue NJ assays were. Uh, So I would make it very brief. I don't know if Dr. Chiang gave you the comments, but NGS. So you don't,
I don't need to provide this much information, like.
I think this
before-
is, this is too much and you're not being fair to companies, like you provided
Right.
for Tempus and Natera, you didn't provide anything. So you just have to be very consistent. Okay. So I would just say NGS assays were performed in various laboratories, the PDGX, Natera, Tempus. That's it.
Okay.
I wouldn't use the word relapse. Relapse is usually used for a patient who underwent cure.
Okay. So we moved the definition of pseudo progression, which was originally located in the discussion part, to here.
Pseudo progression characterizes. Is that, so Liam, do you have any suggestion? I would say characterized by, or is defined as. I don't know why you use characterizes.
I just twisted because I thought we might have keep that definitions in the discussion part as well. So I just don't want to make it exactly same. So I try to use different words here, but as long because we delete the definition in the discussion part, so I think we can use the progression what is defined as it was in that in discussion. So
Or you
I
can
think
just
it was
like is.
you prefer this as well.
Or I was thinking maybe you could just say pseudo progression is the initial increase.
Yeah,
Mm,
this is fine too.
okay.
So so here's my comment about, so I'm not native speaker, but I've read enough scientific articles to know what reads well, what reads awkward.
Mhm.
But every time I read sentences in this article, I sense that it doesn't read well. And it's something about thinking in Korean first and translating that into English later. So scans were investigated for 10 patients. So Liam, do you have suggestion or Hazel?
Could you explain what it's trying to say?
So I think it's trying to say that the 10 patients were additionally picked up by the modified HPD-C definition. We checked their follow-up CT scans and confirmed that none of them had pseudoprogression.
Yeah, correct. That's correct.
So if you write it very plainly and with the sequence of logic, then people who read this for the first time will be able to understand what it means. But just the way it's written just makes it very hard for readers to understand what it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a repeated theme in my feedback. Trying
So
to figure out how to fix this, or if
sure. I'll try to write it as Liam said.
so Liam, do you have suggestions?
Yes, I think it'll have to start with for the 10 patients or additionally.
Well, the point is that the modified definition picked up 10 more patients, right? So if
Yeah.
if the focus should be the modified version, then shouldn't this sentence start with the modified version? The MHPDC further identified 10 more patients when compared to, I guess, the normal or the previous definition.
Yeah, I like that.
Could you repeat Haesung, please?
Oh, I was just saying, like, if you want the focus to be that the modified version further picked up 10 more patients, then I just think that modified should be at the start of the sentence.
Okay, thank
So whatever
you.
you want the focus to be, I think that should be the start of the sentence.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you for
Thank you for your feedback.
So the question is, so the reviewers want to know, for every hyperprogression that you defined, did any one of them turned out to be pseudoprogressors? The answer is no. So the focus is not just the modified version, but all hyperprogression defined by original definition or the modified, none of them were pseudoprogressors. So my question is, did you look at only 10 patients, or did you look at all HPDS, HPDC?
as far as I remember, you suggested us to look at those 10 patients in the past, and that's what we did. And I also realized it would be way better if we could say we, confirm every single HPD, whether MHPD or HPD is not pseudo progression, but that's not with it. Yeah. So
So that
in the supplement,
So that was
There-
not done? Are you
yes,
saying?
yes, we actually didn't realize that's kind of necessary thing. We only follow your suggestion that try to look at those 10 additionally found ones to see whether among them we didn't pick up pseudo progressor. So yeah, we only summarized. Actually, Dr. Jian did this and Arnie, I think. So in the table, supplementary table, when there are only 10 patients. And
Yeah, so the more I think of it, I think the reviewers will definitely ask, but what about the other HPD? Did they turn into pseudo progressors? So I think you need to show that as well. I think definitely the new lesion can regress later on. And I did tell you to cite my own paper describing that. Did you cite
that's
my
in
paper?
yes, that's decided in the discussion part. Yeah.
So for that, I did say, looking at the additional patient is important, but the more I think about it, I think it's also important to say that the other HPDs were true HPDs, not pseudo HPDs, because that is always the hot topic. So I would suggest you separate table, including supplemental, of course, showing what happened to that patient, as well as those ones that are defined by original definitions.
Okay.
And
that's-
if you didn't have a follow-up scan, that's okay. You just say no further scan available. But for the ones that had scans available to determine whether it's pseudo progression or not, you should say how many you've looked and how many pseudo progression or not or none.
Sure. So it's okay for me to, lengthen the supplementary table 1 to include all hyperprogressors that we detected, right? Do you want this table to be a regular table or supplementary table?
Supplemental table 1
Okay.
can be lengthened.
Yeah, I think I should reach out to the members in the lab, later.
So here, 52 alterations were detected. From who? I have no clue.
From 113 patients.
Then you have to say so. With this sentence, I'm confused, is 113 or is it 4 patients?
Okay.
So again, this is not about grammar, but I see scientific inaccuracy in every sentence. I just don't know where it's coming from. It just makes me very confused. So I would say, how many patients do you have in this cohort total? Of our
121.
So I would say among 121, 131 patient had next generation sequencing. And among 113 patients, 4 patient had this and a patient had this. And then among 13 patients, 52 genomic alterations were found.
Okay.
So additional 6 genes. So that means HPDS had everything that HPDC had, and then plus 6 more. Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
No specific gene, I would say gene mutation. Not gene.
Okay.
Between patients with and without hyperprogressive disease based on each definition of HPD. Total HPD S. So total. And how did you calculate p-value, Fisher?
Yes.
And you have columns for the, how do you know which one is? So this one you said AMP. I would also put definition of AMP. So is it copy number 7 or above? Every assay has different cutoff. So you have to define amplification in NGS. Every platform is a little bit different. So Dr. Chia, what is HER2 amplification definition by the guideline? Not FISH, but NGS.
I'm sorry, I don't know, because our hospital doesn't do NGS to watch it or
Mm.
to,
So it's still just FISH, right?
yes, ISGC and just fish.
Yeah.
Even we use the silver, not fluorescence.
Oh, okay. Anyway, Foundation usually uses cutoff 6 or 7. But every platform is different. Anyway, I would use type of genes and I would put mutation and then put gene list and I put amplification and then put gene list down. I would separate, okay? It's
So
confusing
we
as it is.
so Dr. Che, we need to kind of divide the gene by the amplifications, right? That's the easier way.
So I'm saying under type of genes, you can take you can write type of genomic alterations, and then you can put
Mhm.
SNV, single nucleotide variant, and then put the rest of the gene, and then put amplification, and then put the rest of the gene names.
Okay.
So Dr. Shi, just to clarify, let's say among 32 patients who have TP53 mutation, if they have different SNV, then we should discriminate those patients, or so as of now, I only have a data showing this gross type of genes for mutation, not detailed information on the mutation. So should I collect that as well?
So I don't understand your questions. So you said there's a
Oh.
52 genomic
These are
alter-
52. If you count all the columns here, all the rows, then it will be 52.
What
We're
is
gonna divide.
what is this is the number of genes is 52 here?
Right, correct.
Okay.
So we're gonna divide them into two, like SNV and amplification.
Not
That's all.
by, but it's a category. Under SNV, you have gene names. Under amplification, it's still one table.
Okay, sure, yeah. Then that's all. That's all modification we have to make, right?
And for the p-value, I think you can do 2 digits rather than 3 digits. And the same for rest of the table.
Okay. P-value 2 digits.
So you said amplification, XL and MCL1 in your text.
Right, I remember.
Tell me why you wrote that.
I guess. Mm,
Was it 0.012?
yeah, that's. Yeah, it says like 0.012. But I'll double check the raw data. This was made from the raw data, so
Is it 0.12? And it's just 0 and 1, right? So it's hard to make any, it's all 0 or 1 here, if you look at it.
right.
That's the raw data. And I don't expect that raw data to produce 0.012. You understand?
Yeah, I understood. Yeah, I'll check that and update it accordingly.
So again, the scientific accuracy is most important. And I don't know how many times I have to tell you to look at it one more time so that there is no error. I don't know,
I-
Arnie, did you look at it, Arnie? Did you read it one more time? I don't know why every time I have to deal with scientific inaccuracy here.
I'm sorry, my mouse error. Yeah, I read it also with Eugene actually. I mostly edit the figure and the table, but I also read the manuscript.
Sorry, I apologize for the mistake. I think yeah. I remember there were some significant correlation when I analyzed it first time, but yeah, I'll double check it.
So again, I cannot spend time reading each sentence and going back to the table, whether you screwed up or not, okay? I have to trust the first of all, the first authors for accuracy, okay? And then it's the co-authors. Whoever's co-author on this paper, please help the whole team make sure this is fall error-proof. We can't let reviewers deal with errors like this. And I think I'm spending the longest hour of my time commenting on this paper. And every time, I'm not, I think my expectation is pretty, pretty classic. When it gets to this level, when it's close to publication, we need to make sure there's no error. It has to be fall proof. So please just read it one more time. If you read it one more time, you should be able to pick it up.
Understood.
We're sorry, Dr. Che.
Yeah, let's move on. Among all cases. Among all cases, okay. Fewer than 3 new target lesion was not significantly different with those without NHP. So let's look at the figure 5GH. Is it supplemental? Where's figure 5GH?
Yeah, there, just above
Oh,
the
this
flow
one?
chart. Yes.
Why is this in blue?
Oh,
Oh.
the blue mean is like the revisions. We give blue color for only revisions. Like we change the sentence.
Oh, you changed the whole sentence, okay. So
Yeah, and actually we want to ask about the models because I think because we think this is too small. If not, we want to think to make it like vertically, not horizontally.
this looks okay. PFS and OS. So hard to see. So G and H, right?
Right.
It says overall survival in both. Is anything PFS here?
PFS is for E and F.
So ENF is PFS and OS here. So again, I'm continuing to see scientific inaccuracy here.
Uh,
Like every time I go and look, something's wrong. Um, so let's assume you fix all this. The point you're trying to make is OS or PFS or both.
For both, for PFS, so trend was quite reversed. So the point here is to see the two groups, HPD with MHPD with more than 3 new lesions and less than 3 new lesions. And if you look at it, lesions did worse. At least for HPDC, but then for, I'm sorry, like it doesn't, I will. Yeah, that results quite confusing, but
So
Mm.
again, if you are confused, that you won't be able to make reviewers understand. You have to be very clear in what you're trying to say and make that clear in your graph as well.
sure. Yes, I'm sorry, I will restart it. So for PFS, those who with those with less than 3 new lesions, they did worse compared to patients without MHPDC or S. But those who have more than 3 new lesions, 3 or new greater new lesions, they actually didn't do worse compared to patients without MHPDC. So it would be more reasonable if they did worse as well. But for PFS, so patients who have less than 3 new lesions, they were only did poorly for PFS compared to patients without MHPD. But for OS, the reverse trend was detected. So patients with more than 3 new lesions, they did worse compared to patients without MHPD. So that's what is described above.
So HPD. So just, I'll tell you, if I was the reviewer looking at this graph first time, I'll look at HPDC, PFS, and OS. I'll look at it this way, A and C, B and D. To me, HPDC, number of new lesions, don't seem to make much difference. OS is worse, but it's such a small sample size, as you can see in the graph. HPDS, you can see that the number of lesions seems to make difference, but still graph looks similar. When it becomes MHPD, now you start to see not in PFS, but OS only, that the green graph starts to fall in OS.
Right.
And MHPDS, you still see the same trend. So between number of lesion categories, no difference in PFS. We're not comparing to the non-progressors here. We're trying to see if 3 or above has any prognostic implication. So the trend that I see here is only when we use the modified version of the definition, whether you use HPDC or S, in all modified versions, not in PFS, but OS, there seems to be more prognostic, like worst prognostic implication for patients with liver lesion, new lesions, 3 or above. So that's my take-home message, and you should deliver this message with very plain language. Okay,
Yeah.
and
uh,
also make sure you're accurate. Don't just look at figure 5. Look at all your table and figure. Okay,
Mm.
and be accurate in what you describe.
mm,
G and H are both OSs. Okay.
Dr. Chair, I have a questions.
Okay.
So because you said that we need to highlight the overall survival, not the PV, the progressive-free survival. For the picture, do you still okay for that arrangement, or we need to change the design of the picture for the figure 5 to showing more about the overall survival?
It's okay to leave the order as it is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank
So
you,
I'm
Doctor.
going back to this. So I think writing this can make it more confusing. Try to, you know, I think you can do without it and let the readers just look at the figure and decide. I think our points are written up here. Yeah, I think this can, I think this is not the point of our discussion, so you can take it out.
Okay, we will delete that.
I think because we're dealing with such a small sample size, I just wonder if like all these p-value is really important or not, but still, I think it's okay to leave it. I just don't know the value of the whole discussion, but as long as you're accurate in what you describe, it's okay. So I think this is a little bit strong because you said accurately defining is always incorporating new lesions. So you could say this is one way to do it. You're saying the only accurate way is to add new lesions. So you
Okay.
could say it in a more softer ways.
Sure.
So HPD incidence is different by histology. And that's what Minjung Kim has shown in her meta-analysis. Because our paper is non-small cell lung cancer, you should be citing everything from lung cancer. Okay?
Okay.
Not be citing other histologies. Okay?
That makes sense. Yeah.
And you should say that the instance is different by histology. And cite such paper that describes it. So I think Minjung's meta-analysis has been presented as a poster.
Yeah.
So you can cite our own poster. Okay, and then say, you know, among studies that looked at non-small cell lung cancer HPD incidence, this is what we found. Describe other studies. Further research is needed to examine and compare risk factors across definitions. So again, this sounds like a cliche.
Okay.
You can admit the limitations. You can argue that the reason there are different risk factors being described in different studies are due to the fact that many studies are limited to small sample size or single institution studies. It's just the inherent limitation. So things like that you can write, but it's hard to say do a comprehensive study across different, you know, that's what we did. That's our paper. So the reason we're writing discussion is we've done our best to do the most comprehensive and using all different definitions and show you the depth and breadth of what comprehensive research can be. So you have to say this is the strength of our study. And not every paragraph say we need to do comprehensive study. Like then the reviewer is gonna say, but what do you want us to do? Like, What do you want other people to do? You're not preaching. Your job is to be proud of your data and proud of your work and say, I'm humble enough to say these are clear limitations, but the reason why we did our research is we wanted to make contribution in this area, and this is exactly what we did. Period. Okay. You cannot always say we need to do further studies and end every sentence with we need to do further studies. This is
Understood.
writing class 101.
Yeah, I see. Thank you.
So risk of death, HPD, patients with complete partial response. So there's a lot to be said on this for this paragraph. And I just really hope that this is a learning experience for everybody. So when you write paragraph, it has to have context. So is this lung cancer patients getting immunotherapy as a front line, second line, third line? And you know, there's no context whatsoever, and then it's 26 times higher. It's not even meta-analysis. This is just like probably a one institution paper that describes it. I guess
Yeah,
same thing with PFS. What is the context of PFS? So I think there's a lot of leap of logic here, unfortunately.
So, okay, yeah, I understood. While like looking up some articles to write this paragraph, what I realized was quite many papers, they compared the survival of HPD patients compared to many different kind of denominator groups. This was actually a Sada visit paper 25. They didn't separate group as HPDS and non-HPDS. They compare HPD and patients with CR or PR, having PR or SD. So I realized the categorization were quite different among studies. So I actually find it a little bit hard to summarize it, but I will be more giving information. And sorry, this was Champia, and this 12 was Sarabuzid. And would it be okay for me to explain the type of cancer, their treatment status, and groups that were being compared? Would that be enough to give some context?
So as long as you provide clinical context,
Mm-hmm.
and I would be more satisfied with what is the number of patients. Did you look at 10 patients? Did you look at 200 patients?
Okay.
Or you can say the original paper that first brought up the notion of hyperprogression reported such and such. A paper that first introduced the the HPDC
Mhm.
showed that among 200 patients treated with the immunotherapy second line or beyond have shown
I got it. Yeah.
that among these patients they witnessed such and such. So I guess this is all because you haven't written many clinical papers yet. But even for preclinical, same thing. If you have a main idea, you can't say tumor shrink 50%. You have to
Mm,
say, is it mouse model? Was it what cell line? With what agent? And among how many mice? You have to show preclinical context if you want to say describe an evidence, okay? Not just
Okay.
the number of how many times or shorter lifespan of mice. So
Yeah.
it's all about writing. I will pass. So I don't like we believe should be. It's strong. Okay. The reviewers will can throw a fit.
Okay.
So euphemize, okay?
Sure.
Same thing here, not just modified version. So the new patient detected from modified version as well as patient described as HPD from the original definition. Okay.
Sure.
So here's one more comment. I'm giving you a comment as your mentor, but also I'm trying to wear a hat of a reviewer that I feel, that I want to read it as if I am looking at this for the first time. So you need to do that as well. But also, reviewer's hat is like, if you did it for the modified group to look for pseudo progression, wouldn't the reviewer want it for every hyper progressors? It's
Right.
it's kind of a no-brainer if you think retrospectively. And
Okay.
maybe it's my fault that I didn't mention that. But if you own this project, think it over, and you know
Sure.
what the progression is. It's something you've had. You probably would do even before I mention it. So my point is you need to be proactive in thinking about your project inside out. Okay, do not solely rely on, oh, this is what Dr. Che wants to do. No, this is your own project and make it scientifically bulletproof, okay? I'd be happier if I see that proactiveness, okay? Oh, I didn't do it because you didn't tell me anything about it, okay?
Yeah, understand it. Yeah,
It just shows that you care about the patient, the study.
sure.
So EGFR activation induces PD-L1 expression. Is that true?
Oh, that's what I read. Yeah. No, it's I think this, yeah, it's what I read. So it was actually a little complicated, but so mm, so when there is EGFR mutation, then PD-L1 expression level kind of decrease. So um
So again, I'm gonna have to ask Arnie. Arnie, did you read this and do you agree? So this one paper might have written something, but it's your role as first author to determine if is this the right article to be cited? Is this
So
a evidence of hyperprogression happening in a preclinical model? That's my
I
question.
yeah, I'm agree with you. I read this paper before we show it to you, but I know that you want us to kind of describe about the mechanism a little bit about that, and we put it in there. But yeah, I understand what you mean about the preclinical one.
It's just
oh
so
I actually found it, and
you want
I'm
to
sorry.
share your screen if you found it.
Okay, I will.
So the question is, does the paper describe hyperprogression?
Actually, this is not describing hyperprogression, but I found this paper was cited a lot in in papers describing hyperprogression, especially for non-small cell lung cancer patients. So that's why I cited it. And this is the paper. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the paper. And
So, yeah, let me read the abstract. So PD-1 We identify correlation between EGFR pathway activation and signature of immune suppression by upregulation of these. We observe decreased cytotoxic T cell lymphocytes and increased markers of T cell exhaustion. PD-L1 antibody blockade improved survival of mouse with EGFR-driven adenocarcinoma by enhancing effector T cell function and lowering levels of tumor-promoting cytokines. Expression of EGFR mutant EGFR induces PD-L1, and PD-L1 expression was reduced by EGFR inhibitors. The activated these data suggest that oncogenic EGFR signaling remodels the tumor microenvironment to trigger immune escape and mechanistically link treatment response to PD-1 inhibitor. So it describes immune landscape of EGFR-driven tumors, but what it says is it responds to PD-1 inhibitor. Respond meaning not hyperprogression, but the tumor shrinks. Okay.
Right, right.
I don't know why you chose this article to be a preclinical model for hyperprogression.
So I
So what I
chose
asked you to do is find a preclinical evidence that explains hyperprogression. Does this
Okay.
article mention hyperprogression? If so, show me the part.
No, I read it, but it didn't.
So again, then it becomes a matter of scientific inaccuracy. Okay.
Okay.
There are several proposed mechanisms of hyperprogression. If you find an article that never talks about hyperprogression, why would you cite that and explain it?
Okay, I understand your point. So okay, preclinical. Is it okay for me to find some articles having preclinical model for hyperprogression in ovarian cancer or other type of cancer, right? It's not should be among lung cancer. I remember I found one for ovarian
Doesn't
cancer.
have to be. If you go back to our lab meeting video, Dr. Minjung Kim gave a very nice oral presentation on a mechanism of hyperprogression at preclinical model level. She gave us several mechanisms and cited very good papers.
Sure, I will.
It
Yeah.
does not have to be lung,
Mhm.
but we know that EGFR tumors have
Mhm.
higher hyperprogression level, and there are very good papers out there that describes the hyperprogression mechanism.
I will try to reach her again.
So again, I want you to be accurate, at least tell the truth. Okay? When you
Right.
say you're going to describe mechanism of hyperprogression, please find the relevant paper.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I cannot spoon feed you and find all the papers. Okay?
Sure.
Okay, unshare your screen. I will go back to the papers. Oh, this is not the one. Where's the other one? Oh, it disappeared.
Um,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got it. We almost there. I just feel like it's a very long process.
yeah, sorry.
Where are we?
The
Oh, here? Okay. The present study is some strength. As some, as if we are, it's a bad paper, but it just has some strength. I really don't like the tone here. These are the strength of our, study. And you say it. Had, I don't know if is it because there's, so every sentence there's what we call nuance, and investigated definitions.
yeah, I'll change it into studied. Just
We don't investigate definitions. So the point is, you have to say what has been done, what we've done first, what has not been done, or we've done it for the first time. So the question is, has any study applied at least 2 or 3 definitions at the same time, or use their own definitions solely?
mm,
You probably read all the hyperprogression papers.
there are some papers who looked at 2 or 3 definitions, but they only applied one for survival analysis at the end of the day. So I think it's first time to do risk factor analysis and survival analysis for all definitions that are included.
I think what Eugene says kind of correct, because we read a lot of HPD paper. Most of them like kind of review the paper that have like the previous definitions, but no one combine it into like giving the modified one and combine with the previous, or compare it with the previous definitions. Even one paper is only make the modified one, but didn't describe about the previous definitions.
So you could say this is the first study to use, so did you only use 2 definitions, or did you use Ferreira or other definitions in your supplemental information?
We used only 2, but there were no patients for Ferrara, so at least for Ferrara.
But you did calculate the incidence.
Right. I did calculate, but I didn't go deeper when we found modified Ferrara. We found modified Ferrara, but we didn't include them into risk factor analysis or survival analysis because we don't have like comparing group, the group to compare, the Ferrara, original Ferrara group. So not sure whether we can say we saw like we dealt with 2
Say this is the first paper that applied all widely used definitions in defining hyperprogression, period. Defining and analyzing the patients with hyperprogression.
Yeah, I copy that. Yeah.
Prognostic value of modified. So that's the first. And second, we showed the prognostic value of modified prognostic value of modified definition of adding new lesions across different definitions. I would say we studied the value. We demonstrated the prognostic value of modified definitions. Modified definitions across different HPD definitions for the first time, period. Thirdly, comprehensively analyzed. Well, the value of the number of new lesion was first demonstrated by a different group. So I would say we validated the prognostic value of the number of new lesions, period.
Yeah, and I will add the fact that we confirm none of hyperprogressors were pseudo hyperprogressors for the last strength.
Yeah, the fourth we could say, yeah, we also
Confirm or
confirmed. We also, well, we performed addition. Well, no, we confirmed that there were
determined.
no pseudo progression found in our study. It's okay to say that. I don't like this sentence. Let's take it out. It just does
Okay.
not mean much. The limitations of our study are random errors due to relatively small sample size. It's just mouthful to say this. Inherent biases commonly found inherent biases found in this that are commonly taken out. So this is suitable for abstract. So maybe rephrase it a little bit to utilize that in the abstract.
Sure.
Okay. Figure and table. Is there anything you want me to look at? This is blue ones.
We only make the change by the blue one for the figure and the table, also like name, a little bit of the appearance that you said that you advised us before, and we put it in the blue.
So this looks ugly. Take out this bar this bar, this bar, this bar. You can just indent it. I don't know. You don't have to
Oh.
box it
Okay. Okay, I will delete
like
the
these. You don't need it. Immunotherapy regimen. You don't need all here. It's not I would say performance status. You can write PS and put that in the note if it's too long.
Okay.
If this table is going to be too long, you can do supplemental table. One 1A and 1B for non-modified hyperprogressors, okay?
Okay.
1A and 1B. Oh, okay.
Okay. Anything else I need to review?
Dr. J, can I, just for last time, can I show you the original results of the gene analysis? Because I think,
Yeah,
yeah, I wanna,
you wanna share your screen?
yes, I will.
Okay.
So I just checked the original data and yeah, those p-values were wrongly described. It was correct that at least the small samples, despite small sample size, they were detected to have significant p-value less than 0.05. And the way we kind of make a table was we only kept this kind of positive line. But do you think would it be better to have this 0 cells as well into the table? That's the only thing I want to ask.
So it's like one gene have 4 box. It's like, yeah.
So what,
So these are HPC 01, and for each gene mutation, SNV or amplification, because we did Fisher's, there will be for 2x2 tables, but for the sake of table, we only kept the
The positive one.
the positive.
The one that have the mutations. The one that have the mutations, we put it in the table.
but you put the percentage too.
Yes.
But I think the table as of now doesn't make sense because we only kept the percentage for the positive one, but that's not that doesn't make 100% in total. So can we just make it like this, Dr. Shea? Like having both 0 and the negative and positive people for each mutation.
I think, yeah, that has more raw data, so people can look at it. So yeah, I mean, because it's supplemental, it's fine. If it's a regular table, it's too much information, so I would have said no. But because it's supplemental, it's fine.
Okay, we'll revise that. And yeah, these are okay. Yeah, that's all.
Okay,
So
let's
We will
take a
revise the
break.
table.
I think I need to return calls. We'll take a 10-minute break and we'll resume. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Okay, let's do Dr. Chiang first.
I want to start with the paper submission. Original article got another rejection from transplantation, so this is now is submitted to clinical transplantation. Impact factor is 3.2, and now is in going to under review. And another original article is still under reviewing in transplantation. And regarding review article, now we got a major revision. So I have a couple questions to ask you. One reviewer said that the multifocal cancer, he doesn't like this term, and it looks like unclear. But in my paper, when you look at here, I use the term multifocal or diffuse lung cancer. So what would you prefer to use, multicentric or disseminated or just diffuse?
Multi-diffuse. Centric, given the recurrence and survival rate. Yeah, I think you can just take out multiple. It's fine.
Okay. And I didn't know that, but the whole lung resection should be pneumonectomy. It
No,
was supposed to be,
yeah,
so I had to change it.
okay.
And another thing is refractory. The reviewer asked that what is refractory means. Do you think is it enough just describe what is refractory, or should we change the other term?
So I would say lung cancer, refractory to standard, you can use the term standard of care, systemic therapy,
Oh, okay.
therapies as, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to do a transplant when we have other chemo that can work for 1 more year, you know?
Then you mean we can just leave this term, but explain?
But don't put it in front of lung cancer. So lung cancer refractory to, and you,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, got it. And this is an ASCO poster. After I got review from you, I revised a little. And I made QR code. You scan it, you can get the PDF file.
Yeah. Following double lung transplant. Future direction. Oh, yeah. So, well, I guess, well, the double lung transplant. Yeah, this looks good.
And next project is RadioMix. Now we are looking for the second and third RECIST criteria to get the durable response and durable disease control.
Yep.
And the final number of patients is 185. And Edwin says that maybe he completed the work today. I will ask him to get the DICOM file. Then I will ask to Professor Yuri. He said that he has he knows the way how to upload that compact disk files. So we will start the segmentation as soon as possible. And clinical factors were all confirmed by you.
Okay.
And regarding ctDNA, I have to make a graph, but recently I am working on revision. I was busy, but I will make a graph and ask the practitioner.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, very good. For the PARP inhibitors, did I ask you to look into it or was it Hassan?
You asked me, but I had another journal club last week, and the problem is that actually I couldn't find the exact paper that you asked. I'm still looking for.
Maybe you can start with some commentary, or because sometimes there may not be a paper that showed inferior survival. And probably a company, it's like a press release,
Okay.
could be something.
Mhm.
So yeah, so for next meeting, if you can.
Yeah. Okay.
So what is so I think it's just the ovarian cancer data. And if you use it as a maintenance after platinum doublet, maintenance PARP is okay. The data is okay, but you should look into that data. And if you use PARP, I think third line or beyond, then using PARP, even in BRCA mutated ovarian cancer, there is inferior survival, which is shocking, still shocking, because it's not like they've used PARP before. It's the first time using it, PARP inhibitor. I think it's such a unique, interesting phenomenon, and it's like one PARP inhibitor maker revoked their indication, and then the other pharmaceutical company like just followed and revoked all their indication. And we, in the era of targeted therapy or precision oncology, where we say, oh, BRCA positive, then PARP should work best. And why would that be so much different in maintenance setting versus third or fourth? You can argue that they are heavily pretreated, but think about lung cancer. If you have EGFR, it doesn't matter if they get treated first line or third line. It will show similar response. Same thing with PD-L1 inhibitor. Like if you never used immunotherapy before, it doesn't matter whether you use it first line or third line. You have very good response if your PD-L1 is like 100%. What's unique about PARP that if they're heavily beaten up by different chemo, then the PARP suddenly becomes detrimental, even for BRCA positive patients. Maybe some people don't have a clue why this is happening, but it is a fact. And I think maybe Dr. Chian, you can think hard and come up with your own hypothesis. This is and you feel free to ask your gynecology friends back in Korea, ask what their thought is about that. But I think it's a really good topic that you could kind of study and and present. Okay, very good. Haesong,
Yeah, so regarding the PARP inhibitor, you did ask me to find what are some like PARP and ICI combination regimens that have been studied. And so I do have a presentation on that, as well as 3 other topics. So I can do that, I don't know, sometime. But
Yeah, yeah,
besides that, today I want to give you an update on the rejection project because I got replies from both Dr. Shin and Dr. Choi. Dr. Shin gave me a lot of like comments on like the really small details, and I really appreciated that. And then Dr. Choi kind of clarified what I should be doing with the time-dependent Cox regression analysis. They said 2 different things, but I think eventually Dr. Shin also agreed with Dr. Choi's suggestion. So I changed that last minute. So I guess overall I made some changes, like, you know, I got rid of the capital letters, and then let's see. So for the
So-
blood group, I tried many different things.
Question,
So for this, yeah.
question about time varying Cox analysis. Was there something wrong about what you did in the past, or is it just a better suggestion?
Oh, yeah. So Dr. Shin suggested something. So my analysis was correct according to his suggestion, but I just needed to choose a different value in the table, in the graph. But on the table, I mean. But then Dr. Choi suggested that I change the way I do the analysis. So input something different. I will show you. I guess I'll show you that first.
Yeah, 'cause I'm
So the
curious.
gray one, yeah, so the gray one is my previous version, but he suggested that instead of putting the hazard ratio value of T-cov, he suggested that I put the PTM hazard ratio, so 0.23, and so this is what I put. And then for multivariate, I included the organ type. He suggested that since the p-values are significant for all these clinical variables versus the transplant by organ type, he said I should include the organ type in each table, and also like include that in the multivariate analysis. So I redid that, and I got, you know, 2 very similar significant values for both. But then eventually, I think Dr. Shin agreed that Dr. Choi's method is better. This one for the time dependent covariate, I put T underscore times PTM. But Dr. Choi said I should do time underscore greater than time to PTM in months. So a time value should go into this instead of just the plain value.
Oh, okay.
What Dr. Jian told me was that since the T value is going to be multiplied to this value, we shouldn't be adding like a time value here. But I think Dr. Choi is saying that we should be adding the time value here. And then I'm still trying to understand what this exactly means, but I guess it's like this time onward, what's going to happen, because we're interested in the outcome. And so for this one, instead of putting T-cov and PTM together in univariate analysis, I only put the T-cov as suggested by Dr. Choi. And this one was really interesting because, so if you look at it here, the risk of graft rejection, when stratified by PTM, the hazard ratio is above 1. So it's saying that if you have PTM, then you're more likely to have rejection, which is opposite from what we found in the previous method. But if you look at here, the title used to be graft rejection free survival, but Dr. Shin suggested that I change the title to risk of graft rejection because we're dealing with the hazard ratio. And if we want to say if it decreases by like 52%, then we want to express title as in risk instead of survival.
Yeah.
He says like,
yeah, makes sense.
yeah, because they can read that, you know, the rejection survival is decreased.
I
if we
see.
do the rejection free survival. Yeah, so but the interesting thing is that here, like overall, without any landmark, it looks like the rejection risk is decreased. But if you stratify by each of these landmarks, all of
Uh-huh.
these are, at or above 1. So it kind of goes along the line with this time-dependent covariate analysis where we see above 1 when we compare these two. In mortality, we can also predict, obviously, that, well, not obviously, but here it's saying that with PTM, you're more likely to die. If
What
we
was the-
compare it with the,
Wait, what was the p-value? It's all less than,
they're all significant.
okay, so this is time to grade, wait, post time to the risk graft rejection is expressed at, well, I guess in the variable was time. I'm a little confused. So I guess the outcome is graft rejection, and
Yeah.
the dependent variable is time to post-transplant malignancy.
Yeah, I guess should I put time to PTM here then as a variable? And or maybe put like time dependent variable here. Like I'm not sure how exactly I should be expressing this because it does look very similar to the other graphs where I'm trying to say risk of graft rejection.
Right.
versus
So yeah, I
PTM.
think we have to
Yeah.
distinguish that. I think we have to.
Yeah.
So what's the title currently?
Currently, I put results of Cox regression with time-dependent covariate to assess PTM as a risk factor for rejection or death.
Risk as a risk factor for graft rejection. So I guess assess time to. I think I'm okay with it, but maybe let's ask if assess post. I'm okay with what it is now.
It's
But-
actually a title I got from one of the papers out there that did a time-dependent Cox analysis.
Yeah, I think it conveys the message. What about just the variable to maybe time varying variable?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too, like time varying covariate or something.
Covariate,
Covariate.
yeah.
Or since I wrote here time-dependent covariate, and I mean, I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah,
something
just-
about time
yeah.
dependent.
Maybe that will tell us maybe this is like changes with time. And so let's just think about it. Like we do analysis, what we're trying to say is if you develop cancer and from that day on, it's like your risk of graft rejection goes up.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why this greater than sign is here, I believe.
Mhm, mhm. And of course, if you have cancer, you can die sooner. So I think this is this is good that I think this is the right analysis, but it's just the message we're seeing is, for rejection, the risk goes up, and I think it's kind of
It's
opposite to our hypothesis.
well, if you look at this one is very, very interesting. So if we stratify by rejection, then the risk of PTM actually decreases significantly. So the hazard ratio for your multivariate is 0.14, which is very, very small. And these are all significant values.
Hmm.
And obviously the risk is very, very, the risk of death is like significantly increased. It's like 4.16
Right.
versus 1.70 for PTM as a stratification.
So let's think about graft rejection. So it's also time to graft rejection. if you use that
Yeah.
as a risk factor, time to graft rejection. So when you reject and then see if there's cancer or not, then there's no cancer almost. Because you reject,
mhm.
you've shown that your T cells are very potent.
Yeah, this
but
was
actually, one thing
our
to know that-
hypothesis. This was our hypothesis. The upper
Yeah.
one is actually the people who got PTM, and then what happened after getting PTM. That
Yeah, I think
when you get graft rejection, and then what happened next. But the
Mhm.
upper one is when we get PTM, and then what happened next.
Mhm.
Mm.
So
So our hypothesis aligns more like clearly with the second
With-
graph or the second
we-
table.
So I think we should show this one first. So if T cell, we can kind of, we hypothesize that if T cells were, you know, T cells were, I guess, invigorated or what, you know, are functional in terms of rejecting foreign organ, then it should be able to reject cancers in the
Mm.
same recipient body.
Yeah.
And that's what the data shows. And then you kind of talk about it, this one, and then landmark, all that first. And then we ask the same question, if you develop cancer, does that,
Mm.
you know, then does that change your, you know, risk of rejection? The answer is, maybe, you know, increased risk, but I think in the discussion, we can discuss about most rejection. Well, I guess rejection happened like first year, almost all rejections happen first year. And PTM is something that happens like across the many years.
If I don't have the bar graphs with me, but last time I made the bar graphs, according to like the time of diagnosis of like PTM versus like graft rejection, they both get diagnosed very early, like both of them, both PTM and graft rejection, like within 5 years, most of them, like around 50%.
Yeah.
I have a question. So in this analysis right here, like, are we accounting for kind of like the lead time bias of how, like, you know, maybe people with graft rejection die before they have the time to develop PTM? Like, is that addressed, or is that like not really taken into consideration?
Yeah, that's definitely what we discussed last time, and that's why we're trying to find values like the retransplant data as well. And another thing, which I'm still waiting on, I asked Dr. Jisung. But anyways, one thing to know is that this graft rejection here right now, this doesn't include all patients, all transplant patients who've experienced rejection. These are all patients who experienced graft failure, and the cause of the failure is rejection. So it's like a rejection that's very severe enough to cause failure.
Right.
Is that a problem? I asked Dr. Jisung if he has like rejection data for all patients, but I think
Yeah,
the
I
answer is no.
yeah.
It wasn't very clear, his answer.
because some rejections are treated with, you know, steroid immunosuppressant and they get better, not leading to failure. So I think this data may be a little flawed if we do not address that group.
Mm.
Yeah. So anyway, Liam's question, I mean, this is best we can to address survival bias, Cox time varying Cox regression. But yeah, for rejection, we need a non-graft failure rejection data if that ever exists. It may, it's important data. But yeah, remember we thought that it can't be one altogether. Like there's gotta be some analytic problem. Remember they were
Oh, yeah.
both saying
We
multi
can leave it
Yeah,
as
that
a
was
limitation.
yeah. Yeah, so I guess we're learning together. But I'm glad imagine without Dr. Shin and Dr. Choi, we would be having like totally like blinded
Yeah.
discussion. Like, why is this showing same value here?
So another problem is that we submitted the World Lung abstract using just the, the time, underscore times like PTM or graph projection value.
Okay.
Like we
It's
didn't
okay.
do-
You could change the poster and accordingly.
yeah.
We're learning.
Thankfully, we didn't show any graphs or anything. We just said, oh, there was no significant
Yeah,
result from, like the time dependent COGS wasn't significant.
right.
Um,
But now all significant.
well, this is like a much bigger data, so maybe for that one, it's still not significant, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
But I like it that we're learning from. So this is my point. Like for you guys to really study time varying COGS from textbook and then learn R or SPSS and apply it. I mean, it's good. You can take your time to learn. But if you work with a an expert in the field, it should save a lot of time and you can still learn and really get what you need.
The thing is, like Dr. Chion and I talked about all of these options during the weekend. I think these are all valid. It just depends on the project and like what you want to get out of it. So the T times PTM could be useful in like another analysis, but I think for this, what we want to see, we need to do greater than time to PTM or
So explain to me why greater than and why that one, the other one was just time to graph.
I'm still learning, but I think this has more to do with like I don't know, incidents kind of thing. But this is more like what happens, what's the outcome afterwards? Like after you get diagnosed with graph projection, what happens afterwards? But this one, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. But we have seen many examples where this is also used, and people do put the real, like just the plain, graph projection value together when they run univariate analysis. We've seen both examples.
So let's study about that. Why one is used versus the other, and what are those circumstances? And the question we're asking is greater than, is that truly because Dr. Choi, remember he's a statistician, he's not clinician. So he might not, it's all about, is this the right clinical scenario to apply this statistical method, right? So that might be a better question for us than him. I mean, he probably agreed both are statistically valid methods, but deciding which methods to apply in which data set, he might have to ask us.
Yeah, but Dr. Shin did confirm that Dr. Choi's method might be right.
So what I'm saying is I value their opinion, but I don't want us to blindly just follow their opinion. Like if we agree that both, it's not a statistical error we made, it's both are valid time varying covariate, and one uses greater than, one does not. And they are both valid in certain scenarios. Let's study those scenarios and see what's similar to ours, what's not similar to ours, and make that decision based on our own reasoning as well. Do you understand?
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, one thing I wanted to ask Dr. Chion, Do we have like all, did we use the Stata to derive all the information from UNO's database? Because I've been having trouble contacting Dr. Chizang about the rejection or the retransplant data, as well as the non-graft failure rejection cases. Like, do we have the data, or do we need Stata?
Yeah, I have data. If you have a SATA program, of course we can make it. I have file.
Oh, we need the Stata. Does that mean we need to purchase this to get the data?
Isn't there a trial period for Stata? I don't know.
I guess you can use 30 days as a free trial.
Yeah, Status is, user friendly, but has good interface. I used it at Hopkins. Yeah, if you can play with the data yourself, Haesung, it is your study, not depend on Jisang, and Liam can help get you connected with Jisang maybe. But I believe Jisang sat down with us and explained the data structure. No? Didn't-
Yes, he did it.
Yeah.
And we have video.
Yeah, we have video. So, Haesung, why don't you look at the raw data yourself? And
I'll try.
and figure out if you can find that rejection data without graft failure.
And you want me to clump them together, right? Or do you want me to separate it?
Clump them together as graft rejection. Any graft rejection. If you have,
Yeah.
so you can, and then you can separate them by severity. Graft rejection leading to graft failure, not leading to graft failure. So you can do, lump them together. Mild graft rejection, severe graft rejection. You can do all that.
Let's figure
So we
out
can
a
simply
way.
assume that if it doesn't,
Yeah,
Sorry?
if it's not described as organ failure, then you can assume it's a rejection that did not lead to organ failure.
okay. My understanding of the database is that the primary interest was graft failure. And then they looked at the causes of failure.
Mhm.
But I will look into it again, but I don't think they have a separate data for rejection, but I just wanted to ask them just in case. I think initially our project was also, just focused on rejection, failure versus PTM. So I guess
Okay.
if we don't end up finding the data for now, we'll just do with like failure, failure related rejection.
Yeah. And you can just
Okay.
you can describe that in your method that this is how we found as a cause of graft failure.
Okay. And then another thing to remind you is that, some patients had more than one PTM. And so the PTM here just represents the first diagnosis of malignancy after transplantation.
Post-transplant malignancy. Oh, so you added it here too?
This is just the first case of malignancy after transplantation. It doesn't include like
yeah,
second or
good.
third PTM.
So you put that in the note. Yeah. See, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Besides that, for the blood group, this one I did O versus AB, and O as a reference. When I looked at the odds ratio between that and rejection, it was only significant in univariate. Multivariate didn't have anything significant. For
Okay.
PTM, A group had slightly higher risk of PTM, as has been studied in the past. There has been other papers that showed A group had like an increased risk of like de novo cancer, but not necessarily PTM. But that kind of like goes along with like the previous studies, but everything else was not significant. If you do a Cox regression, multivariate didn't yield anything significant.
Mhm.
This one is A as a reference. Again, nothing significant in terms of the odds of rejection. If you look at the multivariate or the adjusted odds ratio of PTM, A group had slightly less risk, and then B group had slightly less risk, and O group had slightly less risk. This
Okay,
also has been shown in previous studies where B group has less risk of de novo cancer, but not necessarily PTM. This one is a little odd, but this is basically what's shown here.
so tell me why you use A as a reference here.
Oh, this one was just my first try. This is the first table that I showed you. I did A initially because I wasn't sure about the rejection, but A tends to have like an increased risk of PTM versus other blood groups. So I thought, I don't know, maybe I should just do A as a reference, but I wasn't sure.
Mm,
And then I tried O as a reference because they have the largest group, and O people are the ones who have both anti-A and anti-B antibodies. And if you do a Cox regression based,
So rejection happens higher level at O. And
no, it was PTM, and it's both less risk or less
PTM
odd.
is less, but I guess rejection is more. But if you adjust
No,
it
rejection
now,
wasn't. Yeah.
So in that case, I prefer consistency. Let's do O as a reference. O, A, B, A, B, A, B.
I also tried
Uh-huh.
non-O versus O.
Uh-huh.
This one wasn't significant in multivariate analysis in terms of the odds ratio. In terms of Cox, same thing, wasn't significant in multivariate analysis. I also tried non-AB versus AB just because AB don't have any anti-A or B antibodies. This
Right.
one was not significant even in the univariate analysis. So the odds ratio wasn't significant, and then the Cox regression wasn't significant.
I see. Yeah, I mean, it's not significant anyway. So,
Mm.
and it's a large number. It's not like we have 100 patients. It's large number data. So I would be okay with just using O as a reference and do A, B, A, B.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think I should also look for the donor blood group data? Because this is just the recipient group
I see.
data.
I think because we're looking at recipient, PTM, and rejection, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, so just to summarize, I guess I'll try to use this data to get the non-failure rejection as well as the retransplant stuff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any updates on the DART?
Yeah, Liam and I are working on the results and methods. It's just that Liam has access to all the results. I think he can give you an update on that.
Okay.
Yeah, the DART, I can give you an update. It's just been taking a little while because I've been trying to just follow up on a lot of the other administrative tasks for the projects we have going on. I plan to get done with at least one or two by this week. And I've also been working on the salivary manuscript that we submitted, there
Yeah.
were some revision, like formatting revisions that they had requested.
Uh-huh.
So that's the first one I'm actually working on right now, and then I can move on to the non-epithelial results sections.
Okay. Did thyroid translational medicine group replied or?
They have not. We have emailed them asking for the translational analysis results. We haven't received them yet.
So I don't know what the holdup is. They had the data, they showed us. And just email them again, teaching everyone, me, and we are waiting to do the analysis, present us your PDF summary as well as the Excel file so that we could, do the analysis as we discussed at our last meeting. Just I don't know. I don't know what the holdup is. Yeah, we send that today.
Mhm.
Once we get it, then Haesung can start doing the Kaplan-Meier curve and all that. So, okay, and based on that, we will write, and then summary. We will write the results section based on that, and that should be a really good paper. And that's really priority too. Okay, yeah. So again, DART is priority. We should get that out first before we do any retrospective analysis. Okay, anything else, Haesung?
Yeah, everything else, I'm just waiting for the TAB program to respond, and also the last trial collaborations. I've contacted every single one of them, but we're still waiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So let's, make it a rule to follow them up at least once a week and reminder email sent out until they are like annoyed and reply back.
For IST Agenus portal, I can just check every single day too, so I'll just do that.
Yeah. But my concern is we don't know anyone in person. So yeah, we need to introduce them, who we are and why we submitted this. So let's do this because we have ASCO and I assume that all these company people are going to be in town. So Liam, why don't we reach out to them and schedule a meeting with them one-on-one, like us and them?
Yeah, so we can't even do that because we don't have like the only way, like we contacted them through the only way we can contact them. So unless they didn't respond to us, there's no other way for us to reach out.
But we have their email, right? No?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
it's that email we sent to. We can send them another email, just a matter of them responding.
Right. Yeah, but still use the same email to request the in-person meeting at ASCO.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, Maria, update from you.
Yes, from my part, there is no much update regarding. We are working with Dr. Nam, working on the resist, the second and third follow-up. So we are working on that right now. And regarding the case report of amivantamab, Dr. Choi that is in here would like to give you the updates regarding that project.
Okay.
Hello. Hi.
Hey.
This is just my phone. I don't think I can share the document. Maria, would you be able to share the document?
Yeah, sure. One second, please. Sorry. Are you able to see the screen?
Yeah. So I tried to correct everything that was mentioned on the last lab meeting. Change the month and also the grammar correction. They require cover letter and kind of drafted the cover letter and also updated the tissue NGS and the ctDNA NGS as well.
So this is the tissue or where's
Sorry, I just shared with you the link of the document, so it's easier for you.
The figure is at the bottom.
so show me figure 2.
And there's only the latest NGS is from 6 months after the treatment. I don't think there's a repeat one recently.
So from tissue NGS, are these 2 only clones that were detected, or were there more?
I from the result I got, these 2 are the only.
Can you go down to so I'm just thinking whether this graph is necessary or not, because we're not tracking anything. And so tissue NGS and blood NGS are very different in terms of interpreting VAF.
Right.
You can, because blood is your reference, is your germline. Tissue is, it's about tumor purity. You can have a lot of normal tissue there, and your VAF would be very low. So it has nothing to do with germline. So you can have germline mutation and tissue NGS would can show 5% or 95%. So I would argue that you don't need figure 2 to show the graph. You just describe that in the text. I think that's fine. Your allele variant allele frequency, don't say high. The high low is not really meaningful. So just say, VAF was what number in the parenthesis. So I guess the point is the 2 EGFR mutations were the only mutations detected from tissue NGS, and the other mTOR, CDK, all these genomic alterations were not found in the tissue. I think that's the information we would want to know, and you don't need the figure. Okay. And this is the graph. You don't need these ABC boxes. So you could just put in a bold and bigger font. You could do ABC next to the pictures.
Also within the pictures, okay.
Yeah, same thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can write in white, letter and just built into the EF. Wait. I want to look at the arrows, make sure they're in the right spot. You go up. So 5.4 millimeter is where that black arrow is. Is that 5.4?
Yes, it's where the arrow is, the red arrow is delimiting the figure.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? So here, DEF, you need a space between DEF after DEF in the figure legend.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
Okay. Okay, so the journal is Precision Oncology.
The NPJ Precision Oncology.
Okay, then let's submit. Yeah. So I really want this to be our rule. So there are abstracts that we do just to get the poster out for you guys. So my philosophy is I not only do lab for the advancement of science and medical care, but my mission is to make you guys succeed as a researcher and nurture your career. Give you guys to present and shine. So I like to give you guys opportunity to present scientific findings. But then there are two types. One, not sufficient for the paper yet. We need to gather more data. And when we update our data, we publish or present those findings. And when we get to a point, now we can publish, then we publish. There are things like case reports. There are things like meta-analysis. When we publish, when we present, we need to submit paper when you make poster. So that's the expectation. When you make poster, it's when you submit the manuscript. Okay. So that's the expectation. Expectation is not you present poster and write paper a year later. We have many posters that are presented with the assumption that that person will submit, but hasn't been done after 5-6 years. So there's so many projects like that. So I'm gonna just still say if it's a clinical project, so again, clinical trial, clinical biomarker, clinical findings come over anything else, hypothesis-driven, preclinical, retrospective analysis. Those are when you have time left. after you submit your clinical papers. Because clinical papers are going to be the ones that will change clinical practice and save someone else's lives. Okay, so that's your priority. Does not matter. I don't care about the impact factor of the retrospective paper. I'm not doing this in the to pat someone else's or my CV. I'm not in this business for that. I'm in this business to save lives. So I think we should all agree to get the papers out. Imagine if this paper was out. I don't know when Gina wrote this with Liam. But it's been many, many months. It's been hard to get it published, but I think we should do our best to get this out ASAP, because this data will help people use this drug even in leptomeningeal disease. I just got a text from my colleague who said, who saw this poster being presented by Uni Choi at Santa Monica. Uni Choi got a travel fund to go to Santa Monica by the scientific, the meeting committee, and presented this. And my colleagues looked at this poster and decided two things. One, let's use it for patients with CNS disease. Before, I didn't know this drug would go to CNS. So she went back to our institution and used in her patient with choroidal plexus disease in CNS, and gave that patient CR. So the clinical paper or abstract saves lives, okay? So it cannot wait, has to be out there. And also she said she learned by looking at Uni, she said she decided to take her own resident to the same meeting next year. So she thought that was very meaningful thing to do. So I'm telling you all this because we're doing this not to add one more line to your CV. We're doing this, of course, to help your career and make you a better researcher, but also I want you to be a responsible one to keep working on it, to get it out. You know, we need to get it out to the world, so that's why sometimes we talk to Juhi. We like to just get it out to preprint. It's called Spring Harbor or Lancet. They're doing it. So for some papers, it's taking too long. Let's just get it out through preprint. We learned that people are downloading preprint manuscripts as well. So I even think we should preprint all our DART papers because it's high impact. And I'll get the committee's consent for doing that. So because they can still cite preprint papers still to make any informed decision so I just wanted to emphasize that that the expectation is the paper needs to be submitted at the time of the poster presentation. It's like an embargo, but you can submit the paper even many months before, and usually the journal would hold on to the paper and just publish it on the day of that poster or a presentation. So that's been the custom. So yeah, just to give you an overview of what the expectation is. But anyway, yeah, I think you're ready to submit, Uni. And obviously, make sure you give all the authors
yeah.
to look at it, proofread, make sure there's no errors. And we're using the chat. I don't think I have Precision Oncology ID password, so you can talk to Liam to get the Che lab meeting email, and then you can use that to make your own account on behalf of myself, and and just submit.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's not an update, but the hepatitis activation that I think I should work on that too and submit as soon as possible.
Yeah. I know there are a lot of papers buried and I don't know how many they are. So it's really the first author's responsibility.
Mhm.
Whether you're first author or you're second, third, who you came later and said, I will submit, just have to work on it. Yeah, but keep updating us, me or Liam, so that we can keep track of where those papers are.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's good that you could come and update us through the Zoom.
And so we're submitting this to JCO Precision Oncology, right?
No, the NPJ.
Okay.
What does NPJ stand for?
That's Nature. NPJ. Nature Partner Journals.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've submitted to this journal before, so let's try it.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, I'll message you the email address for you to set up the new account.
Okay, sounds good.
Wow, it has impact factor of 10. So it's not gonna, it's a, wow, it's an open access journal. A lot of downloads. Because it's open access, I believe it's going to be very expensive. 2-year impact, 5-year impact was 11. Very interesting. But let's try. You check that they do accept case report?
Yeah, they have a lot of case reports.
Okay. Good. Liam, go over your updates.
For me, I think it might be better to go over them with you in person in the afternoon.
Okay,
Um,
this is a lot of logistic things.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Haesung, we have some time to go over the things you prepare for us. So let's do it.
Okay. Okay. I'm trying to understand. Okay. So here, I have the low-dose CT screening of the benefits of screening the Asian female never smokers, and then I have the neoantigen intratumoral heterogeneity, and then I have the PARP inhibitor ICI combination, and then I have the tissue TMB versus blood TMB concordance.
Yeah, go over them one by one. I mean, it's yeah, those are all good topics that we should all think.
Okay, since I guess last time we talked about the screening or the cancer risk in Asian female never smokers, I'll start with this one. Okay, yeah, so I want to talk about this paper. It's called Low Dose CT Lung Cancer Screening in Asian Female Never Smokers. How it's as efficacious in detecting lung cancer as in Asian male ever smokers. This is a systemic review and meta-analysis by Dr. Tripu. Lung cancer in never smokers is the major cancer cause of death globally. Estimated 600,000 deaths occur every year, accounting for and this amount of death accounts for approximately 1/3 of lung cancer deaths worldwide. The objective of the study is to compare the efficacy of low-dose CT screening of lung cancer screening among never cancer smokers versus ever smokers. Selection criteria included. The study included low-dose CT lung cancer screening studies that simultaneously included both ever smoker and never smoker participants, published by April 30th, 2021. The primary outcome measure was relative risk of lung cancer diagnosed among never smokers versus ever smokers. So here, a total of 14 studies were included in the meta-analysis. Overall, a total aggregate of 141,396 ever smokers and 109,251 never smokers were screened, and there were 1,172 lung cancer cases diagnosed in ever smokers and 789 in never smokers. And 13 studies were conducted in East Asia. One study was an international collaborative study with cohorts from the US, Japan, China, and Spain. The relative risk of lung cancer diagnosed between ever smokers versus never smokers overall was 1.21. Confidence interval including 1. And then it was 0.88 among females. The confidence interval also including 1. And then 1.22 among males. Again, interval including 1. The relative risk was 1.78 for Asian female never smokers versus male ever smokers, and 0.99 for Asian female never smokers versus high risk ever smokers, and that means at least 30 pack years. The relative risk was 1.22 for Asian female never smokers versus male ever smokers. I hope I'm getting this right. It's like a tongue twister. And the proportional meta-analysis revealed significantly more lung cancers diagnosed at stage 1 among never smokers versus ever smokers. So it was here 88.5% versus 79.7%. So never smokers versus ever smokers diagnosed at stage 1. And more lung cancers diagnosed at first scan among never smokers versus ever smokers, respectively. So 95.4% among never smokers and 70.9% among ever smokers. The relative risk of lung cancer death in never smokers versus ever smokers was 0.27.
So
And the
never-
relative risk,
never smokers' risk of death is a lot lower. Huh,
is a lot lower
okay.
than never smokers versus ever smokers. And then the relative risk of 5-year all-cause mortality in never smokers versus ever smokers is 0.13. And these are all significant.
Okay.
So in conclusion, the relative risk of lung cancer detected by low-dose CT screening among female never smokers and male ever smokers in Asia was statistically similar. Overall, and lung cancer specific mortality from the lung cancer diagnosed from low-dose CT screening was significantly reduced among never smokers compared to ever smokers.
So, can you go back to that, statistically similar, graph? Where's the,
Never smokers versus ever, never ever, never ever. And these, the confidence interval only included one. This one was also very similar, and this one also one.
and there was a difference male and female, I guess?
No, it doesn't. Oh, this one, yeah, this one female, male.
So,
This was just among never smokers, between the genders. But if you look at the female never smokers versus male ever smokers, there was no difference.
female never smoker, male ever smoker, there was no difference. In terms of risk of lung cancer, this is all risk of lung cancer, detecting lung cancer.
Correct. Yeah.
I guess the trend is still like even worse in female never smoker. Is that true? Can you go back to the other graphs? So female ever smoke. This is smoker, ever smoker. So this is smoker, but never smoke. I guess never smoker. Oh, so I guess that graph was the point. Female never smoker.
Yeah, female versus, yeah.
Female never smoker versus male ever smoker. Their risk is similar.
Mhm. Yeah, I think this was a major point that they wanted to make.
Hmm.
And that's because our previous screening, criteria was like greater than 50, like between 50 to 80 male smokers or
Uh-huh.
people who have quit within 15 years.
Right. So I
Like
wonder.
between
if
50
it-
to 80 men.
So so my question is, in this group, well, I guess we'll just talk about the graph G. And in G,
Mhm.
are we, how do we enroll male and female? I guess male ever smoker could be any smoker, right? It doesn't have to meet that guideline, right?
Oh, for these studies. Yeah, for these studies, yeah. But for screening, I think currently it's men with like at least 20 pack years or who have quit within 15 years and are aged between 50 and 80.
So at least 20 pack years to
Yeah.
be defined as ever smokers.
No, that's just for the screening criteria, but for these studies, they just included any history, any
Mm.
smoking history, like ever smokers.
Okay. So if you do that. Oh. Hmm. And if you look at the graph E, the overall is 1.55. So female has better survive. Is this better? I guess less risk of lung cancer than male. Hmm. And it's that, and female never smoker and ever smoker, all total. Oh, this is female within female, right? The F is within female. They're all female.
F is within female.
Within female. The never smoker, ever smoker, there were no difference. So I guess a lot. Yeah, I think it would have been better if we looked at maybe like EGFR mutation, because that's where, you know,
Mm,
but the
Asian
study
female,
didn't show it, right? Study didn't show it. Yeah.
no.
Okay. So with this paper and the paper Dr. Jian presented last week, what we're concluding is you have at some point developed EGFR mutation in normal lung epithelium. And then you live, and then China and Japan, like all these,
Yeah,
Korea, we have a lot of,
yeah.
you know, pollution, microparticles. And it's like the two-hit theory. If you have that in your background, it's not like the microparticle is causing EGFR mutation, correct?
Mhm.
But it can ignite cancer much higher rate if you have that. And that mutation is ethnically more likely to happen in female never smokers, so in Asia. So their risk is as great as male smoker. So it makes sense to screen them doing low dose CT. I think that's the policy point. In a country like Korea, I feel like all female they should get low dose CT if you're living in a, but I guess the whole Korean peninsula gets the microparticles from China, right? So with, you know, the studies like this, the policymakers can use this to reimburse low dose CT for Asian females living in polluted area, combining
And
this
never
and
smokers.
Charlie Swanton's paper, right? So this is why, you know, papers like this can impact public health. So I just wanted, and it's pretty, you know, you kind of got the largest cohort, and you know, I feel like you can learn from these type of analysis. Okay, any questions?
I actually have a question. So, like, the hypothesis is the environmental exposure to basically dust, like air pollution.
No, this one is just smoker, never
Yeah.
smoke. This doesn't talk about pollution. The pollution is Charlie Swanton's paper.
Right. So, okay. So,
But I believe living in Asia kind of nowadays means, you know, exposed to pollution.
yeah.
It's just the definition.
So I was wondering, like, is it safe to say that, according to this paper at least,
Mhm.
that being a female and of Asian ethnicity is similar, like, is almost equal, it's like almost the same risk factor
Mhm.
compared to men who smoke. That's what it's saying, right?
Yeah,
That's really interesting.
Within Asia, yeah, confined to Asia.
yeah,
You
confined to
can't say that's
Asia.
other countries.
Okay, so all these studies are from Asia. It's not like Asian women in the US.
Yeah, so 13 are from Asia, and then there's one international study that also included United States and Spain data. But
Yeah, that's really interesting.
yeah, quite a number of people, but yeah.
Unfortunate as well. This was really interesting. So I was just like looking it up on the internet, and there's this article from NIH, and they're just very general comment of how cooking oil vapor is associated with high temperature wok cooking and indoor coal burning, where heating and cooking in unvented homes, particularly in rural areas, are risk factors for Chinese women.
Risk factor for what?
Risk factors for Chinese women.
Chinese women for lung cancer?
Yeah, like cooking oil vapors, high temperature wok cooking and indoor coal burning for heating and cooking in unvented homes.
Yeah, they're all microparticles.
Mm.
PM 2.5. So yeah, Jian showed us living in Daegu, living, different cities in Korea. Live, Daegu, there, air circulation is poor. because
When we use the electro cartridge during surgery, many chemical particles coming out, and there is a article that the surgeon get cancer from this. Yeah, they capture the air and then
Oh.
they analyze the components,
Mm,
and yeah, I saw that.
wow. Yeah, surgery. Electrocauterization. Wow. Wow. And cooking Chinese food, a lot of fire,
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's definitely we see a lot of cancer patients in metal fumes, there's definitely occupational risk. But now we're learning more and more.
So
Yeah.
I was actually wondering like if this happens the same around the area I live in. It's a Flushing area, so it's a lot of Asian population, including China, especially China, Korean.
Mm,
Not a lot of Japanese, but China and Korean. Like I think combining those two, probably like 30-40% of the population around this area. So I was just wondering if this will occur the same in the States for the Asian population, probably a similar lifestyle.
yeah, I think you can, this is people who were born and grew up there, but so I think this is not a dietary or climate. This is more of a pollution level difference, and Charlie Swanton paper nicely showed that.
Mhm.
So if Flushing air pollution is similar to the one in Asia, then you can make an argument that their risk of lung cancer is similar.
Then is there a correlation between the duration you lived in those Asian countries and the incidence of lung cancer?
I haven't seen that data. It was more cross-sectional.
Um,
Yeah, I'm sure at population level, it's hard to design. Yeah, but a lot of good thoughts. Okay, I think I have 12 o'clock, so save the rest for later. But good job. We'll have more of this time, and maybe more yeah, I'm thinking maybe we should do like a formal journal club time. But I'll give it more thought. But good job, and we will end here. And welcome, Eileen. All right, very good. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Chen.